Race number 11 of the 2008 NASCAR Nationwide Series is tonight's 250-lapper on the three-quarter-mile Richmond International Raceway. They call it the action track. The motor tagged it with that line several years ago. Well, it's appropriate. We will see a lot of great side-by-side racing, a lot of bumping and banging and spinning, and a lot going on over 250 laps.
Absolutely. If you're scared, say you're scared now, boy, because when the lights go down, you know what happens. Those claws and fangs come out, baby. Let's go racing.
Couple storylines for the night. The Joe Gibbs Racing Team trying to win a fifth straight race. Denny Hamlin driving one of their cars from third starting position. Of course, he's the hometown hero. Can he get it done here? Clint Boyer, Kyle Busch, winners here last year. A couple of the drivers in a very tight fight, along with Carl Edwards for the point lead. And, of course, Matt Kenseth. Watch out for him. He's done everything but win here at Richmond. Right now, time to go trackside for tonight's opening ceremony.
Race fans, how about that flyby by the Blue Angels Fat Albert C-130? And now would you please rise and remove your hats as the soldiers from the U.S. Army Quartermaster Non-Commissioned Officer Academy at Fort Lee, Virginia present our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Reverend Joe Ellison from the Essex Village Community Church delivers tonight's invocation.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, we thank you tonight for America, and we thank you for NASCAR. Lord, we ask you tonight to protect each and every driver. And Lord, tonight we ask you to remember our men and women in Iraq and all the fine troops that are serving this country. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, to perform our national anthem, please welcome back to the stage from Nashville, Tennessee, Ohana recording artist Brooke Borton.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Time to go racing in Richmond. 250 laps for the NASCAR Nationwide Series at a track with a history of great racing, some of which can get a little intense at times.
Short tracks, short sprint to the finish equals short tempers. That's dangerous.
It was just racing, but I was a little mad at him.
The NASCAR Nationwide Series at Richmond is brought to you by Scott's Turf Builder Water Smart Formula. Build a healthier lawn using less water. And the U.S. Navy. Navy, accelerate your life. About to accelerate the pace here in Richmond tonight on what has been a beautiful day. Temperature in the upper 80s earlier. The sun's setting, things starting to cool down. The lights are on. And the green flag waves for the NASCAR Nationwide Series shortly. For a couple of more storylines before the engines fire, let's head upstairs. Dr. Jerry Punch and Dale Jarrett are off tonight. We bring in Marty Reed with Rusty Wallace and Andy Petrie.
Thank you, Alan. Hello again, everybody. Let's talk about the top 10 in qualifying, because 9 of the top 10 starters are going to do double duty this weekend. Race tonight, race again tomorrow night. But Andy Petrie, one guy we would have assumed that would have been in that top 10 is not.
Not only that, we would assume him to head that list. It's Kyle Busch, and he's going to start back in 25th spot. Want to thank him for that, because we're going to be able to watch him come up through the pack, and I'm sure that he is going to give us some excitement.
All right, Rusty, the question for you is, this is a shorter race tonight than tomorrow night. So does Kyle have to be more aggressive to get to the front, or does he need to be patient?
Well, I really think he needs to be just a little bit patient, Marty, but we're talking about Kyle Busch. He's not going to be patient. This guy's going to be wide open, blasting his way to the front. Let's just see if he makes it.
All right, let's talk about the rest of this field, though. Of those remaining in the top 10, who do you like?
I like Kevin Harvick. He's had the best car really in practice. If you look at his long runs, he's qualified well, which you didn't really expect to qualify good, and he's qualified up front. So I really believe that 33 car is the car to beat tonight.
Well, I do have to agree with you, but Casey Kane's running awful good. But you know what? I do have a little bit of a sleeper out there. I think that Jason Luther's going to run good also.
Well, Casey Kane got the first pole for Dodge this year, and his 7th of his career in the Nationwide Series, and he'll be starting on the front row. What's really interesting, though, is if we take a look at the last 3 races. Let's go back to Mexico, where we were on a 2.5-mile road course. Then we go to Talladega last week for a 2.6-mile super speedway with the high banks. And here we come back to the short track, guys, with a 3/4 mile.
Well, the biggest thing here for the teams is these are 3 completely different race cars, and they've been all over the country. These guys have really been working hard the last few weeks, and, you know, this is one of the racetracks everybody loves.
Well, you know, you talk about Mexico City. There were some road race ringers there. There was none of those guys at Talladega, and now a short track like Richmond, man, it's pit stops, it's ramming and bamming, it's getting the car handling good. We didn't have to deal with that last week.
And who says NASCAR racing's only just going around in circles? Well, it's that time as the fans are filing into the grandstands. Let's get this show on the road. Let's go trackside to get tonight's race underway.
And now, race fans, please welcome back your Grand Marshal Ted Narosny with friends as they deliver the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Crank 'em up, gang. Crank 'em up.
Fire 'em up.
Fired up.
Fired up.
This is a normal deal. Also, we got to be around here at the end, and we'll go race them at the end.
You can hear the engines fire, some of the conversation across the top of your screen. You'll see the starting lineup. You heard about Carl Edwards, a contract extension. And let's talk to our in-race reporter. And as we pointed out, it has to be the 33 of Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
10-4, Rusty. Got you.
Hey, buddy, you practiced well, you qualified well, but you did all that during the daylight. Now you're going to be racing at night, man. What's that car going to do?
Well, we try to anticipate it the best that we can to try to, keep the car free enough to make the thing turn at night. So hopefully we've done that. Our Ream Chevrolet's been really good in practice. We got, those guys on board for the first time on my car. They've been on Cale's car a couple times, but looking forward to having a good night, and hopefully the car is as good tonight as it was in practice.
Hey, Kevin, we were talking earlier in our broadcast at turn 1, the entry at turn 1. A lot of guys try to make passes down low and lose it and crash. You guys concerned about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to, to get your car good enough to pass. But if your car is good enough to pass, you can really set that up early. And a lot of times when you crash, you get in there and the car just gets loose and you wind up sliding to the guy on the outside of you. So hopefully our car's fast enough through the center. We can start that pass a little earlier. But, it's very, very easy to do.
Kevin, we got an ESPN.com mailbag question from one of our viewers. And the question is, you're amazing here at Richmond. What is your key to so much success at this racetrack?
I think, growing up at Phoenix on a flat style of racetrack and racing a lot of flat racetracks on the West Coast, I think it kind of gives a little bit more of a natural progression at the flatter type racetracks through my career and the things that we've done here. So it's just a track that fits my style, and I grew up racing on flat tracks, so it's just something that fits what we do.
All right, buddy, have a good one. Keep the fenders on it.
Thanks, guys.
And if you want to understand why Kevin Harvick is our in-race reporter, take a look at that. 4 wins in 14 races. He and Harry Gant are the only 2 guys that have won 3 in a row here at Richmond. Mark Martin has the most wins at Richmond. He's got a total of 5. We're back in a moment. And looking down from high above Richmond International Raceway, we're ready for the NASCAR Nationwide Series to go green as the cars are on the track for the pace laps. Let's show you our onboard cameras for tonight. We've got one with Mike Bliss, Mike Wallace, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, Scott Wimmer, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, our in-race reporter, and Brad Keselowski, who will start at the very rear of the pack because they had unapproved adjustments after impound. He spun in qualifying, qualified 41st, and then had to move to the rear. Let's get a final update from pit lane. Let's bring in Dave Burns.
And Marty, one of the things that was talked about in the pre-race show was pit stops being very important. Brad Doherty referred specifically to you can win this race on pit road. And think of it this way, if a late caution comes out for these crew chiefs down here, there'd be lots of concern, lots of calculating, but not the fuel mileage calculating like we had last week at Talladega. They have to calculate, do I come in, and if so, what position am I giving up? How many guys are on the lead lap with me? And if I stay out, how many more laps do I have to make these tires last? A late caution is a really tough decision for the crews and the crew chiefs on pit road.
Great point, Dave, and of course the money stop will be so important. Let's talk about this racetrack and what we're going to see tonight in our race analysis. Of course, it's 250 laps over this 3/4 mile layout. That equals about 187.5 miles. Pit road speed, don't go over 40 miles an hour. It's going to cost you. Our pit window, somewhere between 90 to 100 laps, and there are the corners, 14 degrees. Front stretch is 8 degrees, 2 degrees in the back stretch. Let's talk a little bit about sleepers. Who could break through tonight in your mind, Andy?
Well, I really think that Jason Leffler's got a good shot. This guy won at O'Reilly Raceway Park last year in Indianapolis. You know, he is a short track king. He won on a short track, and guess what? He's got the same car he won with at Indy here tonight.
Okay, what I think is the one to watch is Mike Wallace. He was the fastest car up here in March in the test session. I got to think that's going to cross over. I think he's going to have a good race. I talked to his guys down there. They're pretty pumped up, and Mike's ready to go.
Tell you what, his car looks good, Andy. It really does. That's a good pick.
And we are getting ready to go green here as we've got about 1 lap to go. In fact, making their way out of turn 2 as the lights are off on the pace car. We're going to go full throttle, let you listen into the crews, and you'll be able to listen, maybe hear your favorite driver get those words to go green, green, green.
Have a good night. All right, you got the green. Nice smooth start.
Hey, everybody on pit road, have a great day. You guys know what you're supposed to do. Nice, smooth pit stops. That's all we need. I mean, good luck. No mistakes. I know you can do it. I appreciate it, and we'll end up there in victory lane.
You have a good day. Do what you do here. We're going to be sitting pretty at the end of this. Get ready. Get ready. Green, green, green. All too right. Nice corner. Right, you want it? By nose, you're clear. Clear. Here as well. Still there. Still clear.
Outside on the...
You're outside here. Door, corner, clear. Outside. Come out there.
At about 22 seconds after we started, green, 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 lap 1 is in the books, and Casey Kane leads Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards, Clint Boyer, and Mark Green. That's your top 5.
Guys, we know how bad Denny Hamlin wants to win this thing, and he's got that nose, the last turn right underneath the 9 car, a Kane, and I think he just wants to get out there and lead every single lap. And I'm looking for Hamlin to actually make this pass at any time.
He's right on the back bumper. Look at Kevin Harvick trying to get underneath Mark Green, and he's there, and can he get that done? Looks like he's going to make the pass and move in. Gets into the top 5. Let's get an update on the 70 car. He's going backwards, Mike Massaro.
And, you know, he's been the surprise so far of the weekend, Marty. Qualifying 4th, and a lot of the credit has to go to his crew chief, the guy on top of the box right now. That's Brian Ross. The reason I say that, because he brought this team to Plymouth Speedway in Indiana, a 3/8 mile racetrack. It was originally scheduled to be a brake test. Well, Brian Ross, a former driver himself from ARCA and Hooters Pro Cup, he got behind the wheel, shook the car down, and came up with a setup that really has affected this car and has made it so it's been successful. They're struggling right now, but they attribute it to low air pressure, still waiting for them to come up.
Well, and all of a a sudden, as we're watching the action, Denny Hamlin shoots around Clint Boyer. Boyer had gotten around him. I think Boyer got a little loose.
Yeah, that turn 2 is just so tight. Looked like Clint Boyer had to get out of the throttle, and all these guys were jammed up right on his bumper. Good thing they didn't hit each other. That was real close right there.
Well, guys, one thing you got to remember, they did all their practice this afternoon here in Richmond. It was 85 degrees. It's cooling down a lot right now, and these cars are going to change a lot, and I got to believe that Denny's struggling with that right now.
Well, Carl Edwards got around all these cars. He has moved up into second place. It's Casey Kane, Edwards, Hamlin, Harvick, Boyer. They're all duking it out right there for 3rd through 5th.
It looks like Hamlin's giving Harvick everything he wants right here.
You know, guys, I just got to wonder, you know, Harvick won all these races here, 4 races here actually at this racetrack, driving for Richard Childress. He's got his own car now. I wonder if he's got the same information he's had in the past.
Well, you know, the driver has to know what was in the car. I don't know that it all crosses over because we have a different tire here than we've had in the past. Cars are a little different, especially the engine package. So it really, you know, even if you have those notes, I'm not sure that it actually crosses over. But Kevin Harvick knows how to get a car to work here.
Take a look at Harvick out in front of Hamlin now by about 2 car lengths. You know, this is not the first race Denny's run this weekend. Last night they had a charity event at Southside Speedway, and Kyle Busch actually beat Denny Hamlin, but they raised $50,000 for cystic fibrosis. Take a look at this. Is getting a little interesting a little further back. There comes Stephen Wallace underneath, and Scott Wimmer. Yeah, look out. That's Kenny Wallace with the Border Patrol car, and here comes the 32, Kyle.
I tell you, Kyle Busch, we were watching him in practice, watched him in qualify. Didn't handle real good in qualifying, but I think Andy said he had a really loose car in qualifying. He's really waiting for this track to cool down so this car handles. It's not doing really good for him right now.
Dave, you got more on the 32 car?
Yeah, he just radioed into his crew 2 laps ago. We're junk, dude. That was to Trent Owens, his crew chief. Loose off was his biggest complaint. I talked to Trent just before they got going tonight. He goes, you know, I'm a little bit concerned just because Kyle Busch doesn't normally qualify that far back. I know it's partially the car's fault, and they're going to have to make some big adjustments on the first pit stop.
Well, as usually, what happens here at Richmond early in the go, we've got action all over the track. You take a look at the battle for 3rd, Harvick and Hamlin beating on each other.
Guys, this actually surprised me just a little bit with Denny Hamlin at the start of the race. You saw he took that nose, put it right underneath Casey Kane. He's fell back, and now the car's starting to come around. He's picking up speed and going back to the front now.
Shannon, you've got more on both these cars?
Yeah, as far as Kevin Harvick is concerned, in this 33 car, he has 7 starts. 4 top 5 finishes. Of course, that win has eluded him. Crew Chief Wiley Rogers told me it's so frustrating because they know that they have a car that is capable of winning, and they just haven't been able to do it. So when I asked him what race do they think that they will be able to get the win, Wiley Rogers told me this one. He said Kevin had a little bit more pep in his step, and he was really excited about getting in the car, so pretty confident that they can get it done here tonight. Now, as far as Denny Hamlin is concerned, he said during testing here in March that he knows that he can run in the top 5 whenever he comes here to Richmond. However, his car has never had that little extra oomph to get them to victory lane. Well, I spoke with Dave Rogers, his crew chief, and he told me that Denny would probably say the same thing about this car here today. They were having a little bit of a hard time getting Denny to turn through the corners. Looks like he's figured something out, guys, because he's hanging in there.
He's doing fine right now at lap 15. We've got an onboard camera with Kevin Harvick on the brake rotors. And just as I tell you that, they tell me we've got a little glitch. We're not going to be able to show you that just quite yet. Oh, well, the best laid plans.
I tell you what, Andy, a question I do have for you is, man, these brake rotors in the 20 car, we're only 14 or 16 laps this race are already ready. Is that normal?
Yeah, it is kind of normal. Those cars really have to get the brakes hot enough to work good. So they'll show a little bit of color. You'll see some red in them. Now, if you see too much of that, I'm sitting on the box as a crew chief. I watch my car and compare it to all the other ones. If I see that our rotors are glowing redder than the others, I'll tell the driver we need to ease up a little bit. But a little bit of color is not bad.
Carl Edwards taking a look underneath Casey Kane, guys. Lap traffic played a factor in this. We could have a change for the lead here. We're working lap 17, and yeah, we're already into lap vehicles. Casey holds him off.
I just got to believe as it gets nighttime here and the track really cools off, we're going to see a lot of different leaders up in front of this pack. I mean, the track here at Richmond, from my past experience of the 6 wins that I've had, it changes a lot, guys. And you got to chase it throughout the rest of the night.
Well, for Casey Kane, you remember he got his first Cup win here from the pole. His best nationwide series result is 9th in 9 Richmond starts, 4th place back in May of 05. And right now, Carl Edwards says, I'd like to take the lead, and does.
I just love this racetrack because you can see both lanes right there working pretty good. Casey Kane was working that high lane a little bit, and Carl, you see him working on the bottom, and that's just what makes it so great. This thing will actually even get to 3 lanes wide sometimes in the corner.
Andy, it seems like every time I've run good here and all the races I ran, you'd start off on the bottom of the racetrack and you'd fly around the bottom. Then as the race goes on, you move up to the second lane. And before this thing's over, you're going to see him dead up against the wall in the middle of 3 and 4.
Well, right now, Carl Edwards has opened up a 0.3 of a second lead over Casey Kane. So we've had a lead change here. And Carl Edwards, 6 top 10s in 08, but he has not won in 30 races. Does he change that tonight? Back here at Richmond International Raceway, that's Carl Edwards, your race leader by 0.7 of a second over Casey Kane. Kevin Harvick's now 3rd, Denny Hamlin 4th, and Clint Boyer rounds out your top 5. And all of a sudden, Edwards is trying to say, fellas, see you later.
Hey, with his car's coming in right now, he's got a great handling car right now. And tell you what, Andy, it looks like this track is cooling down a lot as far as outside air temperature. Man, it just makes a big difference in these cars as this thing cools off.
And that's going to make these crews have to adjust on these cars on that first pit stop. I'm sure that the drivers are telling their guys exactly what they're dealing with and getting ready for that first adjustment.
You know, one thing, like you said earlier, was about telling the driver about how hot the brakes are getting. I mean, as a driver, you don't know. You're out there just driving hard. I mean, the car's handling good, but I don't know how hot those brakes are getting, and you can actually see that.
Yeah, you can see that brake color in that rotor, especially down if you're on the second half of pit road towards turn 1, where they're actually using the brakes. You can see that real well.
We're looking at the 2 car, Clint Boyer. Let's get an update from Jamie Little.
Well, Marty, Andy was talking about adjustments. That has been the name of the game on this number 2 BB&T Chevrolet for Clint Boyer. You know, all these teams came here and tested about a month and a half ago, and a lot of what they learned didn't translate to the racetrack here tonight. And today, Clint Boyer, they showed up and nothing worked, so they put the old setup that took them to victory lane last year back on this car. This is the same car they went to victory lane with 1 year ago, so he's got it working for him right now. He started 5th, and he's been battling there, looking to move up, but he just got passed by Matt Kenseth, guys.
Yeah, he's back in 6th position now behind Kenseth, and as we move a little farther forward to the 33 car of Kevin Harvick, he is now 2 seconds behind the race leader, Carl Edwards, and a second behind second place Casey Kane. There's Matt Kenseth along with the 2, and there's the difference, the gap back there, and there we get the 33. And the reason we want to do that is we want to try and show you those breakers. See what the outside shot looks like? Let's show you what it looks like from on board.
This is actually on the straightaway where you're getting a little bit of cooling through the brake ducts. And then right here is where the driver really clamps down on the brakes, get into turn 1, and boy, you really see that brake rotor glow.
You know, I would really think if you get a lot of brake rotor heat like you see when he's on the brake in the center of the corner, then it cools off. That's good, but if that baby stays red all the way around the racetrack, that's when you got a big problem.
Yeah, this is actually normal. I know it doesn't look normal, but it is normal.
It just shows up so much better under the lights here at Richmond International Raceway on the short track. Let's check in at the Chevy cutaway car with Tim Brewer about brakes.
Tell you what we got here, folks. These are air hoses that we actually run through electric motors trying to blow air in here, but this is the actual rotor. That thing right there operates normally over 1,000 degrees. Here we see temperatures upward of 1,300 degrees. What that's going to do is transfer heat into the wheel, and when it gets in the wheel, it's going to build up the air pressure. So it's basically going to build up and change the characteristics of the handling of the car. But all the airflow we can put in here, as much as we possibly can, is going to benefit the driver, hopefully to win the race here in Richmond. Marty?
So if my calculations are right, I cook my pizza at 400 degrees. Does that mean it cooks 3 times faster?
If you put it on that brake rotor, it's going to cook faster than that.
That is hot right there. I'm telling you what. You can cook some eggs in there, couldn't you? A little breakfast off that thing.
All right, while you keep looking at what's happening out on the racetrack, there's Kenseth. We're on board with Matt. This guy has had some tough luck here. Of course, he finished 2nd last spring in the May race to Clint Boyer because of the infamous pit stop. Let's get more on the 17 from Dave Burns.
Well, and you talked to Shannon. Her question earlier was about this long hiatus he had off. And when they started practice today, crew chief Drew Blickensurfer was sort of getting to know him all over again. And Matt has a very wry sense of humor. Drew told me we had the radio off for the first half of practice. That was actually not working well. And when we finally figured it out, we fixed it for Matt. And then he started kind of digging on us, kind of picking on us, kind of having fun with us. He thought, maybe we should have left the radio off for the entire entire practice session. But they're back together, glad to be riding together again and running very well so far. Matt quiet on the radio.
All right, thanks for the update. You know, Matt has finished in the top 8 in 14 of his last 16 Richmond starts, 11 of those top 5s, but he just hasn't yet won.
He knows how to win here. He's always run good at this racetrack, and we talked earlier in the broadcast about how you can have bad luck in the pits and be leading all day long, and you come down pit road and you have a problem and you lose everything. It's happened to this cat a couple times.
We're taking a look a little bit further back in the field, see who's on the move, and take a look at the Blue Angels car, the 88 of Brad Keselowski. Remember, he started dead last in the field because they made some changes after the impound of qualifying. He spun it as he came across the line, and take a look, he has moved up to 25th in the top 40 laps of this race. Jamie, you've got more?
Well, Marty, it hasn't been normal to see Brad Keselowski mired back in the 33rd position on this start, but I talked to him about what happened in qualifying. He said, he kind of laughed and looked at me and said, you know, the Blue Angels are here. I didn't want them to show me up, so I put on my own displays. He did a couple little twirls on the front straight and got some right rear damage on that car, so nothing major. They went back, just a little cosmetic damage, but they did have to start 33rd because of the incident, but Brad kind of laughed it off, and he said it's just going to make it more interesting as I have to work my way through the field. And guys, all of the Blue Angels, all the pilots are on hand tonight in the 88 box, so exciting night for them and glad to see him on the car.
Well, and Jamie, of course, you got to ride with the Blue Angels. That was a trip, we know, and boy, he's going to have to stay on the horse because he's on verge of going a lap down. Carl Edwards is closing on him. Can Keselowski pull this out? It will be interesting to see. Stay with us to find out. Next week, the Nationwide Series races under the lights again at the track that's too tough to tame. That's right, be at Darlington. It's been run there since the inaugural year of the series back in '82. Denny Hamlin won the last 2 Darlington Nationwide Series races from the pole. Can he do it again? Well, it'll be presented by Coleman Company Friday night. Coverage starts 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Taking a look at our race leader right now. You're looking at Carl Edwards as we are on lap 50 of 250. We have been mean, lean, and green, and that may be the kiss of death. Kevin Harvick is running second now, 2 seconds behind. Casey Kane is third. Denny Hamlin is fourth. And then your 5th place runner is Clint Bowyer.
Boy, I like the way Carl Edwards' car looks, Andy. That thing is right on the ground. He's keeping that thing right on the bottom of the racetrack. You can tell he's got one of the best handling cars out there right now. And it's just about nighttime here in Richmond. And this track, like I said earlier, is cooling off a lot. Cars are starting to get really hooked up right now.
Track is changing some in this 33 car, Kevin Harvick. He's actually eaten into the lead a little bit of Carl Edwards, but now he's run into some lap traffic.
Guys, take a look. We mentioned right before the break the 88 was going to have to get on his horse because he's in the verge of going a lap down. Here comes the 60. What's the story, Mike?
Well, it's something I just wanted to point out, Marty. Of course, Carl Edwards, crew chief on the Cup Series side of things, Bob Osborne, he returned this week after a 6-race suspension. Now, certainly, Carl extremely happy, but the guy second most happy about that probably is crew chief Pierre Coutel. Why? Because Pierre likes to bounce a lot of ideas off of Bob throughout the course of the weekend. And with this being just a one-day event, he had a lot of ideas that he needed to bounce off of Bob Osborne. It helped him dial this race car in. This is a good race car for him. This is the very car they ran with in Phoenix earlier this year, the car they finished second with, and that's been their best finish so far in 2008.
And he just put Brad Keselowski a lap down, and what a difference one little mistake in qualifying has made.
That really can. I just started to say Brad has actually picked up, we're showing on our monitor, 17 positions since he started, but he's still getting lapped.
Well, he started back actually on the very tail end of the field because they had to make changes. And that's just, you know, that's the kiss of death at a short track, especially when you have a long green run like we're having right here.
The next victim, as we have 23 cars on the lead lap, will be the 12 of Sam Hornish Jr. As you continue to watch Carl Edwards, as he is now 2.4 seconds ahead of Kevin Harvick.
One thing I'm really surprised at, though, is that Kyle Busch has not made any more ground than he's made. He's sitting back there right now still in 21st spot. I expected him to blast to the front, but he just hasn't been able to do it so far.
He's just kind of hanging out right there, not going nowhere at the moment.
He's picked up 4 spots. What are they talking about in the pit, Dave?
Yeah, the last radio transmission from him came up to about a 7 tight in the middle out of 10 and a 3 loose off the corner. This car is not working well at all. They had 1 2-hour practice session earlier today. I asked the crew chief right there, Trent Owens, how was it? He said, very busy. We changed the car a lot. We worked extremely hard to try to give Kyle what he wanted, but as we reported earlier, he wasn't sure if he'd have it at the beginning of this race. And right now, Kyle's trying to drive through the ill handling issues. And Rusty, you know, if your car's just not there, even a guy like Kyle Busch can't get through all of it.
I mean, this guy could drive a big-time loose car, but the thing that bothers me, Andy, when he says, hey, I'm really tight in the center and I'm loose off, that's got to be a crew chief nightmare.
Well, actually not. The one thing that happens with that tight in the center, it causes the car to be loose off because you go down in the corner, you drive down in there, and you have to turn the wheel a whole lot to get it to turn, and then it's time to get on the throttle. And once you get on that throttle, then the back end steps out. So the first thing that really caused all these problems is the tight through the center. But then the tires just get wear on them, and then the whole car kind of goes away. And that's what's happened right here with Kyle Busch. And one of the things about this is they really keep building momentum with this team. They keep switching drivers around, and I got to think that factors into some of this because they're having to kind of swap setups around for these guys to keep them happy.
Yeah, I totally agree. Whenever you need to keep one driver in the car to build a momentum, build a consistency, and that's got to be a crew chief's nightmare again to be having to deal with different drivers week in and week out.
Yeah, now that is a crew chief's nightmare to try to, because just like you see Carl Edwards running right here, he's leading the race. Him and his crew chief have worked together a long time, and they, even if they have a little bit of an off race, they work on it, go to the next race, and they start building something. That's hard to do when you're switching drivers back and forth.
We're holding to pick up the number 66 of Stephen Wallace. He has picked up 11 spots since the start of the race and has been clipping off some very, very good laps. There he is. He's coming up on Jason Leffler right now. Stephen's in 12th position. Leffler's got 11th. And he's going right underneath him. Nah, not going to be able to make it that time. So it's going to be interesting, as it has been all the time that we have been. Whoa, he gets a little loose. That's what's great about Richmond. Stephen Wallace on the move towards the front. Stay with us. We're at the action track. We've completed 66 of 250 laps and under our first caution now at Richmond International Raceway. Brett Rowe spun coming out of turn number 4, did not hit anything, but it basically allowed Kyle Busch to stay on the lead lap. And thanks, Stuart Scott, and welcome all the NBA fans that are joining us from the Cleveland-Washington game. We have a very good dogfight going on here in Richmond. Carl Edwards had built up a 3-second lead over Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, and Clint Boyer. Now, don't miss any of this action because right after the game, all you have to do is stay tuned, and we'll have an encore presentation of the race in its entirety on ESPN2. We're under our first caution right here. We'll send it back to Stuart Scott. And as you can see, we're going to have pit stops coming our way. And here comes the 60, and we'll send it first on the 2 car to Jamie Little.
Well, Clint Boyer's number 2 Chevrolet coming around to him. He said it was plowing early on, but right now they're going to pull that left fender out just a bit, make a track bar adjustment, and 4 tires expected for last year's winner, Clint Boyer. Dave?
Matt Kenseth is trying to win here. They will adjust the air pressure in the front tires to turn just a little bit better. They hope to accomplish it with that. Mike?
Race leader Carl Edwards looks close to perfect, but he says it can get better. They'll make an air pressure adjustment to the right front and both rear tires.
Mike, Kevin Harvick looking for his 5th win here, asking for a little more grip. They made an air pressure adjustment, and he's gone.
All right, let's check as they come off pit lane as the race off pit road. Well, basically the way they came in, David Reagan picked up 1, but it's Edwards, Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and Casey Kane. We'll step aside for a moment or 2 as we're under our first caution at Richmond. Back here at Richmond International Raceway, and we're holding breath for news on what may happen or may not happen to the 33 of Kevin Harvick. And fans of Kevin can breathe easy. He will not get a penalty. There was a tire that came loose on pit road, but it was deemed not to have been the fault of the team. So he will stay in 2nd spot. So the guy who is in his 200th start in the Nationwide Series gets a break here. And let's go back and take a look at it, guys.
See these guys making a pit stop. We can't see exactly what happened, but this tire that just happened to get away from the 33 car rolls across pit road, and must have happened for some other reason other than the team's fault, because NASCAR says no penalty.
Yeah, could not see where it came from behind the car. And look at those guys. They are breathing a sigh of relief.
That's Wally Rogers, the crew chief on the car, trying to explain what happened.
When we looked at that tire that said 33 on the side of it right before, and before that we said, I wonder whose tire that is. Got the number wrote on the side of it.
Well, we're getting ready to go back green. It's going to be Carl Edwards. You know, in his 6 prior races here, he's led a total of 9 laps. He's led 55, almost 56. Here we go, back green here at Richmond International Raceway.
We'll see what Kevin Harvick has right here, because he was just a little bit faster than Carl when they were in open racetrack toward the last part of that run.
Well, he really was, but boy, this caution they just got, Andy, is exactly what a lot of teams needed. It was a long run, over 70 laps. They had to get in there, make some changes, and the one he needed the worst was Kyle Busch.
And let's also point out that it was Marcus Ambrose that got the Aaron's lucky dog, so we have a total of 21 cars on the lead lap. Let's talk about pit road. Kevin Harvick almost had a disaster there. He talked about it before the race.
I think the biggest challenge right now is having, on pit road. That's been our biggest challenge, getting the pit stops where they need to be with the Cup guys on pit road, and trying to run it under a nationwide budget. So we've been in the process of really trying to make that better, and that's not something that you can fix overnight.
Now remember, right before this yellow came out, Kyle Busch was on the verge of going a lap down. Well, the yellow saved him. He was in 22nd position at the time, and right now he has moved up to 16th on the racetrack. The worst news that Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, and everybody else wanted to hear.
They're having their own little race right here, and Kevin Harvick looks like he does have maybe just a little bit better car than Carl.
Well, I tell you what, Kevin's hungry to win this race. We know he's won 4 of them, but he told me earlier, he said, I'm really trying to impress this sponsor. I need these guys. I need this car to run good tonight.
Moving a little bit further back so we can bring in the 32. And there he is down on the low side. You know, he's competed in 23 of 24 NASCAR races. That includes Sprint, Nationwide, and the Craftsman Truck Series. He's won 7 of those, including 3 here in the Nationwide Series. And what's amazing, he's led 38% of the laps here in the Nationwide Series, 626.
Over there a little bit, caution's out, it's behind you.
Got caution again, our second one. We got debris in turn number 3. So we went clean for well over 60 laps, and then all of a sudden here, and got 2 in a short span of time, and there is the piece of metal. So we'll take a break. There's your top 5. Carl Edwards still on top. Harvick, though, looking strong here at the action track.
First round of the NBA playoffs continues later tonight, ESPN, 10:30 Eastern time. The Houston Rockets had their backs against the wall facing elimination the other night in Game 5. Tracy McGrady picked up 29 points and led his team to a victory, 95-69 over the Utah Jazz. Now it is Game 6 tonight. Jazz leading the series 3-2, 10:30 Eastern. The NBA playoffs first round on ESPN tonight, your NBA destination. But talking about Kevin Harvick and that tire that rolled from his pit stop a minute ago, you caught a glimpse of Shannon Spake getting an explanation from his crew chief. Shannon, want to pass that along?
Yeah, Alan, we're here with Wally Rogers. You had a perfect view of what happened down there. You guys did avoid the penalty, but what did you see?
What happened was when our tire come back across, the guy had laid it up against the wall, and as their carrier was going over across the wall, he had actually caught it with his tire and knocked it back out. NASCAR did a good job. I mean, they used their head and made a good call there.
All right, and the team next to them is the 38 of Jason Leffler. Marty?
All right, thanks for updating that, Shannon. And the Aaron's lucky dog goes to the 88 of Brad Keselowski, as that was the best break for him because he was in dire need of that move. And now he'll have a chance to show us if he can make the adjustments, as he will now be the 22nd and last car on the lead lap. We can tell you Kyle Busch also pitted during this caution. He gave up 5 spots, moved from 16th back to 21st. Obviously not a lot to sacrifice there, Rusty.
No, he just needed to come down pit road and work on the car, get it handling better. It looks like they topped it off with fuel a little bit, but you know, that was the right decision coming down.
Dave, you got more?
Yeah, Marty, they raised the track bar to help that car turn just a little bit better, especially the top line. That's what Kyle said was killing me on that last run. So they came down pit road reasoning, as you guys said, just a few cars behind them, and really nothing to lose at this point. Kyle back on the track at the tail end of the lead lap cars.
Well, we showed you right before the break the debris that brought out this second caution. There was also a spring rubber out on the track, and I think we're going to get the one to go this time by. Yes, the lights go out on the pace car. So let's reset it for you. It will be Carl Edwards in front of Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, David Reagan, then Clint Boyer, David Rudiman, Matt Kenseth, Stephen Wallace up in 9th, and Mike Bliss rounds out the top 10.
I'll tell you what, I'm just thinking about Kevin Harvick, how mad he would have been if they said, hey, we lost this tire, you got to go tailback, buddy, and you're running second.
Yeah.
That's how you flat make a driver mad when something like that happens.
Well, luckily for them, it did not happen, and there he is in second spot. You see Brian Clausen there. He's in 24th, one of the young guns a lap down, as is Landon Castle. Both these guys having a tough night so far. There's Sam Hornish, the first car now on a lap down format as we come out of turn number 4 and go back to green flag racing here on lap 86. Boy, a great restart for Carl Edwards, and we should point out that Carl, with this move to the front, is your new points leader if everything held up right now. Clint Boyer would be 18 back. You see Kyle Busch, David Rudiman, David Reagan. So obviously still a long way to go in this race, but interesting how close this championship was, because guys, last year, I mean, Carl was just running away with this thing. We didn't even talk about points.
Carl had such a great beginning of the season last year, and he got those wins and got away from these guys. This year, he's got a few of his buddies over there in the Cup Garage that are running these races too, so he's not been able to have quite the success that he had early last year, but it seems like his team's more solid right now than it was towards the end of last year.
Well, while you were finishing up, David Rudiman managed to get around Clint Boyer. In fact, we've got a little video that'll show you why Boyer got himself in this predicament. He gets a little loose.
Whoa, he gets big time loose off turn 2.
Oh, man, that's tough because you're worried about David Rudiman or whoever's behind you getting hit and knocking you sideways. That's big loose right there.
On board with Matt Kenseth.
Still there?
Hello.
Still there?
He's lucky he didn't scrape the wall.
That's a good job out of David Rudiman staying off his back, because, you know, got another driver that's maybe a little bit too aggressive. He might have got him in the back of the car and spun him around right there. But, you know, a lot of this happens on these restarts when the rubber on the tires is built up a little bit, the cars are loose. And I think probably when he gets off that rubber, that gets all the tires cleaned back off, that car will get handling better.
Well, Jamie, what's going on with Boyer? Because Kenseth just got around him and Clint's back to 8th.
Well, Marty, I think Clint heard you say that Carl Edwards just took the points away from him. He got a little nervous out there. He got it sideways, but he said it's all under control. You know, his car was real tight. You're looking at Dan Daringhoff, his crew chief there on the right-hand side. He was real tight before that last pit stop, so they loosened him up, and apparently they loosened him up just a little too much.
Well, thanks for the update. As you can see, this is a great battle going on. There's Kenseth trying to go on the outside of the 99 of David Rudiman. While all this is going on, as he looks like he's going to make that pass and continues forward. You know, we talked about this championship. Well, as we also look at a little further, and that race lead, here comes Kevin Harvick back on Carl Edwards. So all of a sudden, Harvick has closed the gap.
These two cars are very close together, but I believe Harvick's car is just a little bit better. I think it's just a matter of time before Kevin eases by the 60 car.
You know, it looks like Harvick's car is actually turning just a little bit better on the exit of the corners. He can get that nose pulled down, get that nose up underneath Carl Edwards, and that's what you got to have here at this racetrack. That's a key.
Talking to Carl before qualifying, he said he felt like his car was better during the longer run. So maybe, you know, we'll just get back to green flag racing. Maybe it will stretch back out. Who knows? But right now, he's got a great battle going.
He's got a big advantage right now. If you look in front of Carl Edwards, you don't see any cars. He's got all that clean air right on the nose. That's a big advantage for him right now. And then Kevin Harvick is having to run in this air right behind Carl. And so I really think that Kevin has a better race car. You can see him ducking out just a little bit, looking, getting out of the mirror, so to speak. When the driver does that, get in the corner, Rusty, do you feel like he's inside of you, even though your spotter's not saying that?
Well, a lot of times I'll fake a guy out. I'll actually go down into turn 1 or turn 3 and pull the nose down, and that driver doesn't know where I'm at. That's in front of me. And I'll fake him out, and he'll stay high, and you make the pass.
Shannon, you've got more on the 33?
Yeah, I spoke with Wally Rogers before today's race. He told me that they have had a great weekend. They unloaded close to perfect, made one small change to this car. Guys, the car was getting a little free for Kevin Harvick on that last run. You saw Carl Edwards pulling away from him a little bit, but they made an air pressure adjustment on that pit stop, and it looks like that car is responding very well as Kevin Harvick is chasing down the 60.
Well, right now it's a 2-car race because Edwards and Harvick have pulled out a 3-second lead over Denny Hamlin in 3rd, Casey Kane in 4th, and David Reagan in 5th.
As hard as these guys are racing each other, they're still like 4/10 faster than the guys in 3rd and 4th.
Well, Andy, you hit the nail on the head a little while ago when you talked about downforce. Hey, they're running pretty fast at this racetrack still, even though it's a short track. You know, and if Kevin just can't get out from behind him and get downforce in front of that car, it's going to be hard to pass. And then he's just going to have to move now to the top side of the racetrack if he can't get it done at the bottom because of that downforce.
He's working car pretty hard right here. You can see Kevin drive the car down in the corner real hard, get a little bit loose on the brakes, and you know, he really wants to get that spot.
Well, we're 30 laps into this run since these guys last pitted, so still got plenty of rubber left on the Goodyears and plenty of fuel in the tank, and these two are just checking out on everybody else. Got lap traffic going around right there, and the 4-car of Robert Richardson Jr.
You know, one thing I've been seeing, guys, watching the race here, is that it looks like they're starting to move that second lane in. A lot of guys behind these two leading the race are up there in the second groove. And I gotta believe that as this race goes on, and it always does, that second, third lane comes in as the night goes on, and that's probably where Kevin's gonna have to move to.
I got to get in your head just a little bit, Rusty. When you have two cars that are this close together, and you're back there in that 33 car, what are you trying when you can't get by? What are you trying? Are you trying different lines? Are you trying different things each lap?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you just saw him right there on the exit of turn 2. He moved to the outside. He's trying to get some momentum. But, Andy, one thing I was worried about, you saw his brake rotors right now. They're cherry red. It's because he's using his car up a little too much, trying to pass Edwards. Not only does that happen, he's getting a little frustrated, too.
Take a look at our pole sitter on the right side. That's Casey Kane. He's duking it out with Denny Hamlin. That is a battle for 3rd, but that battle is now 4 seconds behind the 2 guys up front. So the more they beat on each other, the farther the other 2 seem to pull away.
Now these guys are racing each other hard too. Casey Kane in the 9, Denny Hamlin in the 20. You can see those 2 lines working really good for both cars.
Casey Kane flat knows how to get around this place. I believe, if I remember correctly, this is where he won his first race at. You know, 4 or 5 years ago in the Cup Series. I remember that night. What a heck of a run for Kane. So he likes this track.
And he won it from the pole that night, and he started on the pole tonight here. But he's got some work cut out for him. We've still got plenty of laps to go. We haven't even hit the halfway point. We're approaching, but we're working lap 104 of 250. There's your top 5. Carl Edwards hasn't won like in 30 races. Maybe tonight's the night.
Pretty sight. Richmond International Raceway all lit up on a Friday night. Our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. Been a pretty sight for Carl Edwards tonight. Been almost 11 months since the defending series champ has won a race. It was June of last year when he last won, Brad.
Boy, it's great to see Carl up front running. He and Kevin Harvick are just absolutely going at it. But how about old David Reagan? He slid up into 3rd, and Mike Bliss having a great run again tonight in that number 1 car.
As we approach halfway, let's check in the leader's pit. Mike Massaro.
And Alan, you mentioned how pretty this place is at night. Well, beyond aesthetics, night racing also gives an added benefit to some of these teams in diagnosing problems with these race cars. In fact, Jack Roush just recently in the last caution saw something he didn't like. Looked at the bright red brake rotors on the 60 car, and he let Carl know.
I say your rotors are the coolest I see. There's no red at all in your rollers down in turn 1. All right, 10-4. Yeah, just keep an eye on it. I'm gonna dial a little front brake so I can get in deeper, and I'll back it up as soon as they start going a little bit. We've got a lot to go. The 33 is real hot behind you, but yours
And of course, brake management could be one of the key factors in tonight's race in determining who goes to victory lane. And for more explanation on brake management, let's go to our Dish Tech Center and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Mike. What we have here, folks, this is the brake openings in the front of the car. These guys, they basically elected to keep them taped up, inducing downforce on the front of the car, keeping the front of the car pushed towards the racetrack. The reason they can do that and get away with it, they've got a lot of fans back here. They're actually conducting airflow back through here to cool the brakes, so they get the best of both worlds. They get downforce for the tape on the nose to get the fans are cooling the brakes. Roush is happy. I guess, Marty, that's a good thing, right?
As long as those fans keep pumping air, yeah, it's a good thing.
I think it's a sign, too, of the driving style differences between these two guys. I think Carl is just floating his car in the corner, not using a lot of brake, and that's why it's working for him on the long runs. You see, he's able to pull away from Kevin Harvick just a little bit, and I really believe that brake heat is one of the factors.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. You're exactly right. The only thing I would alter that decision would be if his car wasn't handling that good, and if he was in the back of the pack, he'd have to be charging harder, working the brakes harder. Then he'd probably have to open up the front end, take some of that tape off the front. But it does slow the car down a little bit, because like Tim said, it takes a little bit of downforce away, and the car doesn't handle as good when that happens.
Well, you can see Carl's got his hand full right now with lap traffic as he's trying to get around Marcus Ambrose. And let's go back to the battle for fifth and take a look at his Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, and Mike Bliss.
And Mike Bliss is on the move. He's moved up from the 10th spot up on the restart. And he's all the way up now to 7th spot. And he's looking for more if he can get by these guys.
Whoa. Not a lot of room up there, but they all seem to make it through.
Boy, when you're running side by side, you're really slowing both of you down. When that happens, a guy closing behind you can really run you down. He loves that.
Well, and we mentioned, Casey, this is the first pole for Dodge this year in the Nationwide Series, and they have yet to win a race. Toyota's won 6 of them.
Well, that Toyota motor's strong, but the Gibbs team, that 18 car and that 20 car have been so strong all year long. I really don't think you can say, well, it's the Dodge or it's a Toyota or it's a Chevrolet. I just think Gibbs has got these Nationwide cars really figured out.
Well, what also is interesting, if you look back on the history of this race, it's been dominated by Chevrolet in the last 11 races. 10 of them been won by Chevys. Guess who won that only other race? Carl Edwards in a Ford back in May of 05. And that's where he's at right now, leading up front by 1 second over Kevin Harvick. David Reagan has moved into third. Kenseth is fourth, and Kane is fifth. There's Kevin Harvick. Can he catch up to Carl Edwards? Edwards right now, the man to beat.
Carl Edwards continues to lead the NASCAR Nationwide Series race tonight here at Richmond International Raceway. A look at our Holiday Inn Express race summary. 1 lead change. That's it. Casey Kane started on the pole, led the first 17 laps, but Brad, once Carl took over at lap 18, he's had Kevin Harvick chasing him for most of it, but it's been all him.
Boy, Carl's got a great race car, and as you can see, he's taking care of, he's managing those brakes. They're not cherry red. Kevin Harvick had a little bit of trouble keeping up with him as far as the brakes were concerned, but Carl Edwards has just checked out on everyone.
As he puts Kyle Busch a lap down. Surprising, I think it's fair to say. Very surprising, but, you know, we'll see. Kyle could yet get back on the lead lap and have a good finish. Let's set up what could be the final round of pit stops. We get another 20 comes out. We could see these guys on pit road for the final time. Let's get you nationwide up to speed and hear what some of these top teams are thinking from pit road.
Alan Carl Edwards in the midst of what appears to be his best run so far in 2008, still looking for his first victory, trying to snap a 30-race winless streak. This may be a product of something they hit on in Phoenix. Up until that particular race, this team admitted they were struggling with the tapered spacer, but they found something in Phoenix. They brought the same setup, they brought the same race car, and are looking for a little bit different result. They finished runner-up in Phoenix. They want to go to victory lane, obviously, today. Shannon?
Well, Mike, someone else that wants to go to victory lane is Kevin Harvick, driving his own KHI car. You know, when you think of KHI as an organization, it's amazing to see how far they've come in such a short period of time. 1 truck championship, 13 wins. Now the organization has taken the next step. They've gotten a chassis dyno at their shop, hoping to bring them to the next step to be a little bit more competitive in the garage. Since up until now, they've used the chassis dyno at RCR and looking forward to having that in-house. Now, what would it mean for Kevin Harvick to go to victory lane tonight in his 33 car? Here's what Kevin had to say.
I think it'll be much more emotional just for the fact that you're emotionally tied to everything involved in it, from hiring the people that work on the team, you know, to seeing all the cars built, and it's just going to be to be a great day for myself. The nationwide teams have won, but I hadn't won in a car. I've won in our trucks, but I hadn't been able to do that in a car yet.
Well, right now, Kevin Harvick told his crew chief, I am just saving the car right now, waiting to make my move. Dave.
Alan mentioned pit stops coming up, and for Matt Kenseth, that was what lost him the race here last year on a final stop. The 17 car fell back, could not battle up to first spot. Right now his trouble is Mike Bliss behind him in the 1, but Kenseth with 1 stop remaining, just running a little bit warm. Otherwise, no complaints about the race car. He's going to give plenty of room to Bliss right now, who has a much faster car. He just called into his crew real good. He restarted this session 8th. He moved all the way up to 3rd at this point.
Well, David Reagan in that number 6 car, very happy with their short track program, and he should be. He's had some of his best finishes on short tracks this season. 8th at Bristol, 5th at Phoenix. He said the key is staying up front, and right now, guys, that car is great. David Reagan is very happy with the condition of that car. Now, as far as Casey Kane, your pole sitter, according to crew chief Kurt Almquist, this team is still very bitter about not winning at Bristol earlier this season. Of course, they finished 2nd to Clint Boyer, who's right behind him. Kurt said they have something to prove. They want to come out here and they want to win this race to help ease some of the pain from not winning at Bristol.
And Clint Boyer, before that last pit stop, came in and he said his car was tight. It didn't want to turn. So on that last pit stop, they freed him up just a bit so it would turn a bit better. But they freed him up too much. He's been too loose. He just came on the radio a couple seconds ago and said this car isn't worth a thing. It won't turn. It won't roll to the center. So he has his hands full right now as he battles side by side with Casey Kane. Dave?
Stephen Wallace on pace for his best career finish. He got that a couple of weeks ago at Mexico City, his first top 10. It was a 10th place finish, and crew chief Harold Hawley says that was a changing experience for this young man. It was a finesse racetrack where he could do a lot of things wrong, but he didn't, and he's instilled a lot of confidence in his team because of that run in Mexico City. Shannon?
Well, it's the number 20 car, Denny Hamlin, behind the wheel. That car has been hooked up all season long. Now, according to their crew chief, Dave Rogers, he thinks the reason that they've been so successful is because they don't take it for granted. Every Sunday, after the celebrations in Victory Lane have settled down, he is focused on next week. He said his new job description is paranoia. He's always wondering who's going to knock him off that horse. Mike.
Well, Shannon, Scott Wimmer broke through and finally got to Victory Lane earlier this year in Nashville, and that win translated to much more than simply confidence. Wimmer told me this morning that it gave him a feel of the race car that really translates to a very strong run. Since then, he's been looking for that feel, and that feel, he says, really translates very well to this Richmond Speedway. He said he had that feel heading into this race and is expecting a very strong run. Alan?
All Carl Edwards, down to 15 cars on the lead lap as the defending series champion continues to run a blistering pace tonight here at Richmond.
Well, we're under our 3rd caution here as a spin by David Rudiman, and we're getting set up for our Castrol TX triple pits as they're already making their way down pit lane. Jamie Little, you're up first.
Well, I just reported on Clint Boyer. He just said he was too loose after that last pit stop. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on those left side tires as he makes his way down. He's going to take 4 tires and fuel for the 2 car. Dave?
The only discussion for Mike Bliss was 4 tires. He will need Sunoco fuel in that car as well, but no changes to the 1 car. It's running great. Mike?
And Carl Edwards, they're taking a pretty big swing at it. They're going to go down a round on the track bar. They're going to make a half a round of a wedge adjustment, 4 tires and fuel on the race leader. Shannon?
Yeah, Kevin Harvick saying the car's tight, but he still wants to keep a little of the grip. Won the race off pit road, guys.
It looks like Kevin Harvick may have gotten it. You saw the 19-second pit stop for Carl Edwards. There it is, the race off pit road. The winner is Kevin Harvick. Now, we have got 107 laps to the end of this race. Depends on when we go back to green flag. As you take a look at the crew cam. That's Jeff Roth in.
New leader off the set of pit stops, Kevin Harvick out in front of Carl Edwards. It happened on the left side of the 60s pit stop. Watch the left rear. The NASCAR official kind of blocks our view, but they had a problem on the left rear.
Yeah, you can see right now they're in. Right front tire change, the left front tire change is going ahead. He's got it on. The left front is blocked out, and you can see the left front tire changer looking back. They're taking so much time in the back. It's about a 19-second pit stop, and they come out second.
Time to go racing. Marty?
All right, thanks, Alan. Kevin Harvick out in front. Kelly Byers was the Aaron's lucky dog as he gets back on the lead lap. He's the 15th and last car on the lead lap. It's Harvick, Edwards, Mike Bliss in third, Dave Reagan in fourth, and Matt Kenseth rounding out your top 5. Now, we went back to green flag racing, guys, with 104 laps to go. We talked about the pit window being between 90 and 100. If we stay green, this is going to get interesting.
It really will be, but I tell you what, Andy, I love fresh tires. I like new tires, and 100 laps is a long way to go.
You know what Kevin Harvick loves right now? That clean air on that nose. He hasn't had that all day long. I think we're going to see just a little bit different race right here because now Kevin can kind of dictate the race a little bit. He's a leader, and he's got the position now.
He's got that downforce in the front end. He's got all that cool air going to the brakes. He can drive harder and not overheat the brakes. I mean, he hasn't been up there all day long like this. But what I want to see now, if Edwards starts running him back down, because Edwards drove off a little while ago, and see if Kevin made some changes this last time, keep that car handling better yet.
Well, the 88 of Brad Keselowski is sandwiched in between these two. We should point out Brad is 16th. He is the first car 1 lap down. He does not want to lose any more ground because he's already won the Aaron Lucky Dog once. He'd like to get it twice. Now, we also didn't get a chance to show you the 99 car doing its loop, and he got a little assistance. Let's go back and take a look at it.
This is Sam Hornish. He's down a lap. He just gets in the throttle a little bit too soon, gets into the back of David Rudiman. Lucky David doesn't hit anything right here.
It's just a little bit of driving mistake from Sam. He's a great driver. He's got a little aggressive right there and got in the back of David. Now, that could have been a lot worse. He held on to it and didn't tear that car up at all. Look at that. Barely stopped up against the wall, but tell you what, Rudiman was pretty mad about it.
And that's what brought out our 3rd caution, and there is David. He is in 19th place, a lap down. Jamie, you've got more?
Well, the spotters were talking between Sam Hornish Jr. and David Rudiman, and apparently Sam Hornish just said, I'm tired of him bumping me. Tell him to knock it off. That's why I spun him. And David said, I didn't touch him. Sounds like a racing incident, right, Marty?
Let's talk about it afterwards in the trailer. You see, Rudiman does get around Clint Bowyer. Now, Bowyer is in 9th place, but boy, Rudiman made that look easy. There's Scott Wimmer. He's alongside the 9 of Casey Kane, our pole sitter. That is a battle for 7th.
Casey Kane gets real loose off turn 4.
Man, he was in that throttle early. Just got that thing stepped out a little bit, but held on to it.
Let's get more on the 9 car from Shannon Spake.
Yeah, Marty, the 9 car, Casey Kane, your pole sitter, is really struggling right now. He said he's having some chattering in the brakes, and he is pumping those brakes, so the car is not handling the way he wants to. Hopefully they can make it down pit road and make some changes or get that fixed out.
Man, brake chatter, I'll tell you, if you get brake chatter, you know there's something going wrong with the brakes. They've either got too hot, and they got to cool them down a little bit. But, man, when you get brake chatter and you got 95 laps to go, that's when I'd be being easy on them.
Take a look here. You got Kenseth in the 17, getting a little loose. David Reagan, and then here comes the 20 of Denny Hamlin saying, hey, fellas, you've given enough room. I'll go in the middle. He looks like he's trying to kick a field goal here.
Andy, going back to Casey Kane a little bit, when he's complaining about that brake chatter, what usually happens? What causes those brakes to do that?
Well, it's just heat. These rotors, look at David Reagan. Man, he got that car sideways. It's really just heat that kind of warps the rotor, and then when you clamp down on the brakes, that rotor has got that warp to it, and it just really transfers up into the pedal.
Well, Reagan has dropped from 3rd, and now he's been passed and bumped back to the 6th position. So there you see your top 5. And we got a crash in turn number 2. It is the 5 car of Landon Castle.
We're okay here, Chad. We hit a little bit.
Castle was in 20th position, a lap down. And you know, we were talking to him before the race. He's 18 years old, and he hasn't had a real lot of success as far as finishes. His best finish in his career has been 18th. His best this year has been 19th. And he said something that was interesting. He said, Dale Jr., his car owner, said, look, give your team a reason to want you back. And that's been the most profound thing I think he said.
Yeah, but Marty's only 18 years old. When you're 18, you got a lot to learn. All of these kids do, including my own kid. They all learn a ton. And I really believe Landon's going to be okay. I've seen some good runs out of him in the past.
But he's under a lot of pressure. He's one of the top draft picks, I'll call it, for Hendrick. one of these development guys, and he's really under the gun. He's got to not wreck the car, and he's got to bring home some decent finishes. So that's a hard thing for a young guy.
Well, guess who gets the Aaron's lucky dog for the second time? So does that make him super lucky? It's Brad Keselowski.
Lucky.
The Blue Angels must be flying on his as his co-pilot, so to speak, because he's back on the lead lap here. That'll give us 16 cars. Kyle Busch, just to let you know, is 1 lap down in 17th. All right, let's talk a little bit about pit strategy. Does anybody come in and top off? I mean, what do you think?
Well, we're getting ready to find out right here, because pit road will be open as these guys go by. Looks like the leaders are passing. You can see them go and buy the commitment cone. You may see some of these guys come in to try to top off, but boy, that track position is so critical here.
So no takers from the lead cars. So the drama will continue to unfold, as obviously it sounds like some of these people think they can go the distance here at Richmond. Come back to find out.
Wrapping up the 4th caution of tonight's race at Richmond International Raceway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Here's what happened to bring out the yellow flag.
Tell you what, we go down in the corner here, and we see Landon Castle. Looks like he may have got a little bit of help in the rear end there, but he gets spun around, taps the wall lightly with the driver's side door, and I think he's going to be okay.
Top left of the screen, that's David Stremme.
On the 20 now.
In the black and white car that was right behind him. So the lead changed hands on a set of pit stops. Kevin Harvick had not been able to pass Carl Edwards on the racetrack. When Edwards' team had the problem on pit road, it put Harvick in front of him. And now the shoe's on the other foot, if you want to use the old cliche, because now Carl has to try and find a way around Kevin on the track.
Yeah, it's been difficult. You heard our Andy Petrie talk about that clean air on the nose, but don't look now. Look who's in 4th spot. Matt Kenseth is coming, and old Mike Bliss is up on the wheel.
And the other thing I'll be curious about is to see how many of these crew chiefs are counting caution laps. Remember, they restarted with 104 to go. That's a little outside the fuel window. Are they counting on getting enough caution laps to make the finish without another stop?
That's a great point. I thought a few might take a chance to come in and top off right there.
I did too.
Everybody stayed out, so we're getting ready to go racing.
Yes, we are. So we're going to take the green flag with 87 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Mike Bliss, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, the top 5, and a total of 16 cars on the lead lap. And as the pace car heads for pit road, let's get the restart. Full throttle.
Cruise off, on you. Okay, ready. Green. Clear all around, Still inside, 3 wide. Still inside. Clear to the bottom. Side clear, 25 with you.
And here comes Kevin Harvick. You're looking out from his rear deck, and that is Kyle Busch, who's a lap down. Carl Edwards going underneath him, trying to reel in the race leader.
And I really thought for just a little bit there that, you know, Kyle Busch would get this car handling better, guys, and he had a great shot then to get that lap back, and I don't think he's got that car at all where he wants it all night long.
And he may not be able to get there. Sometimes you have a car, it just has the wrong springs or the wrong setup, the wrong shocks. You can't adjust it all the way out. I mean, he's really having a struggle here tonight, and they may not be able to get this car tuned in for Kyle.
Let's check in on the 32, Dave.
Andy, that's so interesting. I talked with Trent Owens before the start of this race. I said, is it possible that when you think you have a great qualifying car, you're not able to make huge changes before the race starts, and then you would have to because you have a bad qualifying run that you didn't build enough adjustability into the race car? And he said, that's where we are. We can work on this thing, but we certainly didn't plan on it being this bad in qualifying.
And we got another crash. Oh, no. Casey Kane, our pole sitter, into the wall in turn 2. So our 5th caution comes out with 84 laps to go. And Dodge's best hopes for their first win this year in the Nationwide Series.
First one's over here on the front stretch going into 1.
Just spanked the wall. Casey gets it refired, and he'll take the damage to pit lane, and it is smacked pretty good, and it looks like there's a little bit of damage possibly on the 1 car, Mike Bliss as well. Bliss running 6th at the time. Take a look, and we just get the tail end of it, guys.
Yeah, it looks like he may have gotten a little bit of help, but you can't tell from that angle.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to say he got hit by somebody, but, you know, when you get up in this gray, you see all this debris on the racetrack, you get in that stuff, that could have happened. He could have got too high and spun it out in all that stuff.
There's your top 5 as we are now under our 5th caution here at the action track, and it has lived up to its name once again. Great crowd on hand tonight. We've got a lot more race action for you fans this weekend. Saturday, 10 a.m. on ESPN2, it'll be NASCAR Now. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2, it'll be NHRA Midwest Nationals qualifying from St. Louis. And boy, if the weather's good, look out, the records could fall. Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN2, it'll be finals from St. Louis. Don't miss it. Ashley Force, of course, making history last week. First woman to ever win in Funny Car. As here, 80 laps to go. You know, we've had enough caution. This is going to be interesting. If we go green the rest of the way, who's got the fuel, who's got the brakes, and who's got the tires? Other than that, there's no questions to be answered.
The big if is the caution flag.
That's it.
A lot here lately.
All right, we can tell you Kyle Busch got the Aaron's lucky dog, so he's back on the tail end of the lead lap as we go back to green flag racing. It is Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, David Reagan. That's your top 5.
You know, Mike Bliss, he's kind of fell back in the pack a little bit there, but he's got himself all the way up to 3rd a little while ago. I think that fender damage he had came from a little incident which caused him to lose all this track position, Andy.
A little incident on the restart, and he's lost a few spots, but I think his car's still good. You see here, he's going to have to try to work his way back by these guys. That left front fender does have a little bit of damage.
You know, in the left front fender, that's probably one of the most critical fenders on this track. You got to keep that left front down, make that car turn good in the center of the corner. And when that fender's bent up like that, it can't help the handle on this car. I'd say it probably hurts him probably about 1/10 of a second or so, and that's a lot at this track.
Yeah, Rusty, you've been right on the mark. Our last 3 cautions have all been down there going through turn 1. Do you think we're going to see more?
Well, I do think you'll see more as the race heats up. You know, when this intensity level picks up, especially on a short track, I mean, that's when the drivers run out of time and they go, man, I got to get it done now. And they take that, what I call that bonsai move down into turn 1. And sometimes you make it and sometimes you don't.
Scott Wimmer has moved into 7th position, and that is Bliss right in front of him, as he has got his sights set on 6th place with 75 laps to go. We can also tell you that Denny Hamlin has now moved around Matt Kenseth into 3rd. So the man who told us before the start of this race he would love to win this more than any other race, and that includes the Brickyard and Daytona, at least at this stage in his career, because it's 15 miles from his home in Chesterfield. There he is in 3rd place, trying to reel him in.
You know, Denny just hasn't had the car right where he wants it all night long, but you know, with 74 laps to go, he's got enough time to get this thing right.
Well, his car wasn't very good, but they did make this car better. They've helped this car the last time they were on pit road, and it's showing up right here. This is one thing that a real seasoned team like this 20 team, they can really make a difference.
And don't forget that he is the one sole hope for Joe Gibbs Racing in their drive for 5 wins in a row. Remember, Kyle's got 3 of them. Tony Stewart won last week, and he is 2 places away from making it 5 straight.
Guys, you know, the 18 car and the 20 car, this track, the setup at this racetrack, the tire is the same. The tire pressures are real close to what they run. And I remember what that 18 car did at Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix and this track are very similar race setup. And boy, I tell you, Kyle flew there. And I got a feeling this 20 car get this thing going here. Shannon?
Yeah, well, Denny Hamlin and this 20 team, they've been working on this car all race long. The first pit stop, they took air pressure out of both tires. They put that air pressure back in on that last pit stop, and as you can see, definitely paying off. Guys, we've talked about how bad Denny Hamlin wants to win at this track, his hometown track as he considers. His mom and dad are in the audience tonight, so definitely that 20 car would love to go to victory lane.
Well, we've talked about Toyota winning 6 times so far this year, but that Chevrolet has dominated in the last 11 races here at Richmond International Raceway. In fact, only the Ford of Carl Edwards has won during that stretch. Right now, it's a Chevy out in front with Kevin Harvick. Can he hold on? Well, we'll find out in about 70 more laps here at Richmond International Raceway. There's your top 5.
Looking down on Richmond International Raceway from our aerial coverage tonight, provided by Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. 62 laps to go in the NASCAR action here at Richmond. Tonight at 10:30 Eastern, Game 6 between the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. Houston could go home if Utah wins tonight, Brad.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be tough, though. The Rockets have to go into Utah and win that basketball game. The Jazz and Carlos Boozer have been great at home, over 30 wins. The Rockets have been atrocious on the road. It's going to be a tough road to hoe when they go into Utah.
NBA playoffs first round on ESPN. Tonight, your NBA destination. Let's take a quick run through some of the leaders' pits now in and up to speed and find out what they're thinking fuel-wise, tire-wise, track position-wise as we run out these final 60 laps. Shannon has Kevin Harvick's group for us.
Yeah, Alan, Kevin Harvick might be a two-time champion in this series and has won 32 races, but he's never won in his own KHI car. Looking to break that streak here tonight. Right now, the car is just a little bit loose, but he sure does like that clean air. Mike.
Shannon, during the last round of pit stops, Pierre Coutel and the 60 team made some significant changes to the 60 car, track bar and wedge. During the beginning of this run, they radioed to Carl telling him, well, it looks like you freed the car up a little bit. Carl's response was, nope, we're still very tight in the middle. Not exactly happy with the race car. As far as fuel goes, though, the 60 car is clear to the finish. Plenty of Sunoco fuel to go the distance. Shannon?
Well, Mike, it's been a busy weekend for Denny Hamlin. As you can imagine, he is home. He ran a 175-lap race last night at Southside Speedway, and that's the track where he cut his teeth. He ran there with his teammate, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch won the event, and Denny Hamlin finished fourth. And as far as David Reagan, who's running right behind him, David survived Talladega. He has not had a DNF this season. Definitely a credit to this 16. David Reagan saying that the car is a little bit free, so expect some changes on the next pit stop. Dave.
Well, with 57 laps to go, they're nearing that threshold point at which crew chiefs are going to decide whether or not to pit for fresh rubber. I asked Mark Marino, crew chiefing on the one car, do you want to come down pit road? He said, we're good on fuel, but I may want the fresh rubber. As far as the 17 behind him, Drew Blickenster for the crew chief told me, we can make it all the way on fuel, but in talking to him this morning, his threshold for coming down pit road is somewhere around 25 laps to go. So we'll see, Alan.
Everybody stopped at lap 143. We're at lap 194 now. If the caution comes out, what do you do with 17 cars on the lead lap? Kevin Harvick's leading. Carl Edwards is chasing, and we've probably still got a little drama to play out tonight yet here at Richmond.
49 laps to go at Richmond International Raceway, and Kevin Harvick is leading. Now, he has won here 4 times, and Mark Martin's the only guy that's won more. He's got 5 in the bank here in the Nationwide Series. He's got a 1-second lead over Carl Edwards, but I want to talk about what you guys have been looking at. The glow on the brakes of the 33 car. It is much brighter, which means more heat than the 60 or the 20 in second and third.
And that's going to hurt a car over the long run. Kevin's got a great race car, and you can see this, this shot we've got shows a lot of brake heat in that right front brake rotor. And every time we see Carl Edwards' car in the 60, he doesn't have quite that much color. And that can actually make the difference. Even though Kevin seems to have a little better race car, if this brake heat takes its toll on Kevin's right front tire, that could open the door for this 60 car. But I actually see some color in Carl's now. I guess he's trying to drive a little bit harder at this point.
Well, he's probably trying to run him down to catch him right now, that's for sure. But, Andy, going back to Kevin, he said he's loose. So he can't hardly put any rear brake in that car whatsoever. So if the car is loose, you can't afford to put rear brake. And the only thing he can do is keep the front brake into it. Now, it might help him. If those front tires actually build a little tire pressure from all the heat, it might accidentally tighten him up.
Well, it depends on how the car is handling. That actually could help your car, but not usually over the long run.
You got that right. He'd be lucky there, wouldn't he?
Well, while all this is going on, Harvick and Edwards a second apart. Denny Hamlin is third. The guy we got to update you on is the 32 of Kyle Busch. Remember when he was a lap down and he was struggling just to stay in the top 16? Well, guess what? Kyle is now 9th. He's 13 seconds behind the race leader, but he has gotten around David Stremme and Clint Boyer, the guy who won this race. last year. And if we just hold right there, there is Clint Boyer. And Jamie, what is going on with the 2 car?
What a night. One, he wants to forget. It started out, his car was plowing. It didn't want to turn. It was too tight. Came in, they loosened them up too much. Now he just came on the radio a few moments ago and said, it's plowing again. This is the worst car I have ever driven. The night is getting worse as he goes on. 11th right now, the worst position. Clint Boyer, the current points leader coming into this race, has been all night. He started 5th and he's slipping back, guys. So not a good night for him. There could be a jumble up in the points before this night's over.
Well, the jumble is this. If it stays just the way it is, he's going to be in 2nd place, 23 markers behind Carl Edwards.
That's the crew chief, Dan Deeringoff, for Clint Boyer. I talked to him down on the grid for qualifying. He told me that this tire that they've got this year is different than what they had last year because he won this race last year. And it's made so much difference in their setup and also this engine package. He says this engine package has made more difference at this track than even on the intermediate tracks that they've been on.
Well, there is Kevin Harvick with now 42 laps remaining. And we talked about the fact that he has won 4 times here. Well, why don't we take you back and show you a little history as Kevin picked up his first win back in May of 03, September of 05, and May, September of 06.
In this race 1 year ago with 27 laps to go, Matt Kenseth made a pit stop under a caution flag. He was the leader. He came out 3rd.
Absolutely had some trouble with that right front tire, as we see, and that cost him that race out.
In tonight's race, Carl Edwards had the dominant car through the early and middle stages of the race, but on a pit stop, had some trouble on the left rear.
Had trouble left rear. It's a 19-second pit stop. It cost him 2 positions. He got back to 2nd. Now he's struggling.
That put Kevin Harvick out in front, and Carl has not been able to do anything with Harvick since. Kevin Harvick is the leader of this race with 34 laps to go.
By 1.2 seconds to be exact as they cross the stripe, and Denny Hamlin another 6 seconds behind that. So right now it is Kevin Harvick's race to either win or lose. I want to throw this question out. If we do get a caution here with 33 to go, crew chief, you coming in or you staying out?
It's going to be a tough one, but with 33 laps to go, if it came out right now, you'd have to think about coming in and getting tires because they are worth so much. I'm sure you'll see somebody stay out, try to steal it maybe, but I think the leaders are going to really want tires right now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. We saw in that video a little while ago where Matt Kenseth was down pit road with 27 laps to go when he had his problem last year. So you know these teams are thinking, hey, new tires can win you a race, and you want them late.
This is a man on the move right here, Mike Bliss. Been watching his lap times, and he's been consistently one of the fastest, if not the fastest car on the racetrack for probably the last 20 laps.
He just hadn't had the track position. He keeps getting hung up in the restarts. Tell you what, he's absolutely the fastest guy on the racetrack, that's for sure. Dave?
2 points on the 1 car. First of all, Mark Reno told me we're better on the long run. You know how often I believe that? Not real often. They're much better on the long run. It just took a few laps for this car to get going, and Mike has passed all the guys who got by him earlier. Second thing, this team has been doing double duty this weekend, and that's rare for them. They got Sterling Marlin in the Cup race for tomorrow night. They came back. They got Mike Bliss well qualified into this race with a great race car. They've worked very hard, worn themselves out, and it's paying off tonight.
All right, thanks, guys. As we now look at 29 to go next time by, it is still Kevin Harvick by 1 second. There's Denny Hamlin as Bliss is trying to reel in the 20 car. That 5 car of Landon Castle was a lap down in 25th. Landon steps aside, lets the guys go through.
Guys, I tell you, the top 4 positions, Kevin Harvick, Edwards, Hamlin, and Bliss, their lap times are almost identical. I don't see anybody closing on anybody at the moment, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind them.
Well, that little pit stop miscue for Edwards is going to prove to be very costly because that, you know, just having that lead was the thing that Kevin Harvick needed to get out here and hold this lead.
Well, we talked about Harvick and the glow of those brakes. They are the brightest of every car on the track right now. And let's check in on Carl Edwards. There he is in the 60 car, and we eavesdropped on the radio.
If we have a caution right now, what would you do?
Well, pressure's all the way around right now. Take some wedge out of it.
Why don't you put fuel in it?
Yeah, put fuel in it.
So you know now what Carl's crew would do if we get a caution right now. But the problem is we're staying lean and green.
Yeah, but you still have to be planning on that pit stop. Here comes Mike Bliss going for that third spot right here on Denny Hamlin.
And boy, he's making it look easy, Rusty.
You know, he's still got all that fender damage on the left front fender of that one car also. And you got to believe it's hurting him because, I mean, he's as fast as the top 3 guys now, or the top 2 guys, the leaders, but he was at one point the fastest guy on the racetrack. So the fenders hurt him a little bit.
Actually, the last lap, he still was the fastest car on the racetrack.
So with the fixed fender, that makes him double fast, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, does that mean you pit and bang in the left front fender?
We're getting down to crunch time now, 25 laps to go. And this is where it gets interesting if the caution does come out, because some of these guys are going to try to stay out. Some of them will want. They're going to all want tires now. Which crew chiefs will actually give them to them? That'll be kind of interesting to see.
You know, Andy, Brad and I were sitting down here talking about Kevin Harvick. Remember, we heard from him earlier in the race talking about how developing the pit crew has been the biggest challenge of running his own team against the Childresses and the Roushes and the rest. If you're Kevin Harvick and you're concerned about the pit crew, they got you the lead on one stop, do you take the chance on coming in if the cautions come out just for that reason alone?
That's a great question, Alan, and that does come into play. And if I'm on that box, but these guys have had a good night, and so you take that in consideration. They're pumped up. They got the lead. Oh, got trouble off turn 4 here.
Definitely, we've got the 52 car, Derek Cope, down on the infield right by the finish line.
Looks like we're going to find out right here.
Yeah, we got our caution.
What these guys are going to do.
6th caution with 22 laps to go, and now everybody's got to make the call. Do you pit or do you stay out? So the drama is going to unfold here at the action track. 22 laps to go. For those of you just joining us from the Cleveland-Washington game, we welcome you. If you missed all this great action, and we've had a ton of it, stay tuned. There will be an encore presentation of this entire race immediately following on ESPN2. We're under our 6th caution because we had a spin by Derek Cope right at the start-finish line coming out of turn number 4. What it has done has brought us to a position where some people are going to have to make a call. Do they pit or do they stay out? They all have enough fuel. But do you want fresh tires? Do you want to make a last-second adjustment? We have a total of 15 cars on the lead lap. Casey Kane will get the lucky dog. That'll make it 16. What do you do, crew chief?
Well, this is a tough call right here. I'd really be tempted to stay out, but you hear him saying 4 tires. It's just, this is right on the edge of where you would stay out or, you know, come in the pits.
Rusty, as a driver, what do you want, 2, 4, or stay out?
Man, right now I want 4 tires. I want tires because there's only 15 cars in the lead lap, and I'm going to gamble that a lot of them would come down, and I could come down too, but you know what? A lot of them stayed out, and there's a lot of them behind them hit pit road.
Denny Hamlin was the first car to come in.
Hamlin, David Reagan, Matt Kenseth, Scott Wimmer, also Stephen Wallace, and Kyle Busch. They all decided to pit. And there is the change. We'll see if they go for 4. Look at the one turn in the left rear, and they are going to go for 4 on Kyle Busch.
Well, Kyle Busch has nothing to lose. Scott Wimmer here getting 4 tires. You can see him making some adjustments.
And boy, when the intensity's up and you got 4 new tires with 20 laps to go, you're going to drive like you're on a qualifying lap every single lap. I'll guarantee you're going to see guys like Kyle Busch, Scott Wimmer, Stephen Wallace, guys got 4 tires just bonsaiing to the front. And Harvick's just got to hold on and hope these tires hold out.
All right, so Harvick and Edwards stay out. What happens now as this drama unfolds? Don't go away, because by the time we go back to green flag racing, we'll be somewhere around, say, 16 to 17 laps to the end.
Coming to a restart that'll happen with 16 laps to go. The first 3 stayed out on the racetrack. 4th on back have the fresh tires. Imagine how difficult it is for a crew chief to make that difficult call when your owner is your driver.
Oh man, I knew it was going to come to this. I knew, and I need some help on this one. Can't help you. I think everybody behind us is going to come, because that's the only way they can keep up.
That was Wally Rogers talking to Kevin Harvick. We're back at it. Trouble down the front straightaway. And we won't stay green for very long. Caution is back out.
See, the only question here, Alan, is downforce more important for that 33 car? Is it more important than tires? And I think Andy Petrie can answer that for us. What's more important right now?
Right now, tires. But I saw that just on that one corner. Yeah. That 20 car was really getting going.
Yeah, he definitely is in the driver's seat. Denny Hamlin is the first car on fresh tires. It was Harvick, Edwards, and Bliss that stayed out, and you're right, he was flying.
And this is going to be a big-time break right here for these top three.
Well, I tell you what, my heart's pumping right now, man. It's going to be so exciting with all those new tires on there. These guys are unreal.
All right, let's see if we can talk to our in-race reporter, Kevin Harvick, on that decision to stay out.
Kevin Harvick, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us, buddy?
Stand full, Rusty.
All right, man. Why'd you stay out in those tires? Is that a good decision? And you got to be feeling some pressure right now.
Well, I don't know what the right decision was leading. You know, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation. So, you know, we'll see what happens here. Tires are definitely going to be coming. It's just a matter of how many green flag laps we have. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate everybody from Ream and all our team. They've done a great job today regardless.
Well, buddy, you're giving that sponsor a good run tonight. There's no doubt about that. Let's just see if you can hold on. I know everybody's on their feet in the grandstands. This is going to be a tough one, but hey, these laps under caution got to be helping, though.
Yeah, they definitely aren't hurting anything, so hopefully we can get going before it gets single file here.
All right, buddy.
All right, we got a chance. Let's go ahead and talk to Wally Rogers.
Hey, Wally Rogers, Andy Petrie, you got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
I'm glad I'm not you sitting down there tonight. How did you come up on this decision to stay out?
You know, we just kind of made that decision ourselves, like Kevin says. I mean, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Felt like we'd be better off out front. We're going to take our chances and go from there.
Okay, it sounds good. Make a decision, stick with it there, Wally. Good luck, buddy.
Stand full, thanks.
All right, so right now, Kevin Harvick, I don't know if he feels like a sitting duck, but he, Carl Edwards, and Mike Bliss have been on these tires for close to 90 laps now. And right behind him is Denny Hamlin, who's on fresh tires, as is, guess who? Kyle Busch in 5th place, guys. Remember when he was a lap down?
Yeah, but remember about Denny Hamlin? He told us before the race, guys, says, I want to win here worse than any track on the NASCAR circuit. This is my hometown. And, man, he's got 4 tires. He's in 4th. He's got a shot to win this thing. This guy's going to be real aggressive.
One guy that has fallen back, Matt Kenseth, is back in 16th spot. Dave, what's going on?
Yep, and he was running around the top 5 on that last pit stop. They rolled a tire back toward the wall. It bounced off the wall and rolled back across the halfway line. And that is a penalty if you don't return it before the driver leaves the box. That was the ruling from NASCAR. They were asked to restart at the tail end of the longest line. 2 years in a row, disappointment for Kenseth in this race.
Yeah, we just showed you what happened to him in the pit stop where the jack didn't get the car up high enough last year, cost him the race there. Now this mistake has put him back as well. And here we get ready for the drama to unfold. There'll be 11 laps to go this time by.
I'm really afraid that Kevin Harvick and Carl Edwards are going to be sitting ducks right here, because I saw that 20 car get a run off turn 2 on that last restart that makes me think he's going to be coming.
These caution flags breed caution flags. That'd be his only shot probably to hold off those new tires.
All right, Hamlin and Kyle Busch are 4th and 5th, the 20 and 32. So we get ready to go back to green flag racing. Who's going to win it? Hamlin's got to be careful. He gets up on those marbles. It could cost him.
He's got a big run right here, though.
He got by Bliss. Next target, Carl Edwards. 10 laps to go this time by.
Guys, he's got a ton of momentum on the outside of that track right now. He's not even messing around. He's just going to the top up to where it's slick and standing on it. Right up against those marbles, Andy. You got to be careful there, because there's a lot of debris up there.
Denny Hamlin has one more target to fulfill a dream. He wants to win in his hometown track. Chesterfield's about 15 minutes from here. Here he comes, looking inside of Kevin Harvick.
Hard to beat those 4 new tires.
Oh, man, well, we just learned something. If you can get 4 tires late in the race, it's what you got to do, because this is a slick racetrack. These are soft tires, and grip is everything in a row. Look at those guys slipping and sliding back there.
Contact back in the pack there. Don't know who tagged the wall, but everybody's still under control.
Looked like the 29 car, Scott Wimmer, got up against the wall.
Yeah, you can tell the right side of the 29 car's got a lot of damage on it. Mike Bliss is getting real loose. They're all sliding around, and gosh, I'll tell you, those new tires, what good they are for these guys. I mean, we just learned something tonight, guys, how important they are.
Look right here. We got Kyle Busch, and you got your boy up there in the top 5, Rusty, Stephen Wallace.
Proud of that boy right now. He's driving smart. About the last 4 or 5 races is like he flipped a switch. Got a good top 5 going on right now. 7 laps to go. These guys just got to bring it home now.
And look at Kyle Busch. He's got Carl Edwards within half a car length. Forget about Hamlin. The only person that's got a chance of losing this race right now is Denny. Here comes Kyle. He's looking underneath. Does Kyle have enough time to reel in the race leader? Here comes Reagan underneath Carl. Can't get the job done yet.
These guys got to be just a little patient. They see those positions, and they got those fresh tires. They want to get them right now.
Stephen Wallace also going to get past the 60 of Carl Edwards. The decision to stay out has been costly. Right now it's Hamlin, Harvick, Kyle Busch running in 3rd. What a run for Busch. That car was junk most of the night.
It really was. I'm shocked how he has made such a recovery.
This guy's done this a lot this year, and he just never gives up. I mean, he'll tell you probably after this race is over, this thing is not where I wanted it, but this strategy to put 4 tires on, this has saved him right now.
4 laps to go. Kyle Busch doesn't have enough time. I mean, he's 3 seconds behind the race leader. Hamlin's lead over Harvick is 2 seconds.
Got to spin off turn 2.
Got to spin down off of turn 2. The 40 car loops it around. That's Brian Clausen.
Nobody touched him.
The caution flag will come out, and guess who that helps? It brings Kyle Busch right up to Hamlin. The worst thing that Denny wanted to see.
I think that 20 car's got a plenty in reserve for that 32. Though.
Yeah, I think you're right, too. Now, Andy, I had a question to ask you. Are the teammates going to be nice to each other? I don't know.
But you know what? Nothing this guy does should surprise me anymore with Kyle Busch.
Well, I'll tell you, the Cup guys sitting back watching this race on television right now, you better take notice, because 4 tires was everything. Tomorrow night, when this race gets late, they're going to learn something off this.
Take another look. We'll see what happens. Watch the 40 car.
It's like he just kind of hooks the apron a little bit, gets sideways, and gets a tap from Clint Boyer.
You ever notice they always have these cautions like 3 or 4 laps to go? Gets my heart pumping, gets everybody jumping up and down.
Let's go on more with the 17.
In the middle, right there.
And there is Brian Clausen. Still out on the track. He is in 21st position. He's the lap down. Has not been the kind of evening. Of course, he's taken over that ride tonight because of the injury to Dario Franchitti. Dario gets reevaluated. Could be back next race, or it could be a little longer. We'll find out. I think
a bad crash from Dario Franchitti. Guys, this week I went over to NASCAR Research Center and actually looked at that car. It knocked the roll cage out of that car. That was one of the worst hits I think I've ever seen. I got to view that car, look at it, and learn a lot for, you know, I think all the teams went over and learned a lot from that crash last week to make their cars safer.
All right, we have been informed by NASCAR that it will be a green-white checker finish. Dave, give us an update on the 32.
Marty, he only needs one more thing to make it just like that charity race that Shannon talked about last night. They inverted the field. He was the fastest car in qualifying. He ran back through them to win the thing. Tonight, they're getting very close to that point. Almost the same scenario. Has been at the back of the pack most of the night. And now, one of the adjustments, Andy, that they have in this car is that fresh rubber. And when you add that to a car they worked on all night, Trent Owens and the boys might just have a race winner.
Yeah, Dave, don't forget they got Kyle Busch behind the wheel, too. And that's the guy I'd want right here with the green-white checker.
I'm going to throw something else into the mix. Remember last year, the points championship? We didn't even talk about it because it was such a wide margin. Right now, it's Boyer by 1 point over Carl Edwards, 8 points over Kyle Busch. That's the top 3. All right, while we've got a moment, let's talk about the Nationwide Series. We're going to be racing under the lights again at Darlington. That's right, NASCAR's original super speedway. It's the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Darlington, presented by the Coleman Company. Friday night coverage starts 7 Eastern on ESPN2.
And for people that want to go fast, Darlington, they're telling us 200 miles an hour, getting at the corners, fresh repaved, track's real smooth.
You know, one thing they didn't do, they didn't widen it any.
They just made it faster, right?
And they're going to go 200 into the corner. That's going to be fun.
Okay, now let's update the points again, because it was 2, now it's going to be 1, based on where we're getting ready to restart. Green, white checker, here we go. Pace car is off. Denny Hamlin trying to fulfill a dream. Kevin Harvick trying to hold on for dear life. Kyle Busch, here comes the mad rush, and look at the 66 trying to get underneath Reagan.
Looked like Kevin Harvick had a little bit of life in him right there getting into turn 1. He made a dive at Denny Hamlin.
Well, he's got those tires cooled off one last time, giving one shot at it to try to hold on.
White flag is out. Denny Hamlin grew up just
flag clear by 5.
Grew up just 15 minutes from here in Chesterfield, Virginia. Told us before the race, which stunned us, that he would rather win this than any other race on tour. And oh, look at the contact. Kyle Busch gets bumped by the 66, and here he comes right back underneath him. But coming out of turn number 4, Denny Hamlin fulfills a dream.
Man, what a finish. They were dead sideways going into turn 3, bumping and banging, and held on to it.
Buddy, we just won it, Richard. Yeah!
Is here how much that means to Denny Hamlin to win in Virginia.
I never thought I'd hear a driver say, I'd rather win at Richmond than I would at Daytona. I'd rather win here than I would at the Brickyard. He wanted it bad, and boy, did he get it with it.
Let's check in with Mike Massaro.
And Marty, it doesn't seem to matter who drives this race car. For the 3rd consecutive week, the 20 car in victory lane, and with the 3rd different driver. How are you able to put such successful, such competitive race cars on the track every week?
We're in the right position at the right time for this one. We clearly had the 3rd best car, the 1633 or better. But it don't matter, man. We just won at Richmond with Denny Hamlin. This may be the sweetest victory I've ever had, ever.
And he grew up just 20 miles from here or so. What does this mean for him? I mean, you know him better than perhaps anybody in this garage.
It means so much to him, I think I'm going to cry. He's had a wonderful day. He just won the pole, that FedEx number 11, and to come back and win the race, I don't know. It's great. I can't tell you, it's just great.
Marty, the call for tires, obviously the right one, and once again, Joe Gibbs racing in victory lane for the 5th consecutive week. Marty?
And you saw the confrontation with Kyle Busch and Stephen Wallace. Now, Kyle did finish 3rd, Stephen 5th, and here is what happened. He looks in. Typical Friday night. Oops, Stephen grabs the helmet. I think 2 guys will be going to the trailer, and you may have to get your wallet out, Dad. There may be a fine.
I'm staying out of this one.
Yeah, I hear you. Stay with us.
Little twist of plot late in this one finds Denny Hamlin realizing the dream. He wins at his hometown track in Richmond tonight. We go to victory lane.
Well, Denny Hamlin says, yes, sir, it is my turn to go to victory lane. And he does it here at Richmond, his home track. I'm sure that was one of the most satisfying burnouts you've done in your career. Just describe the emotion that you're feeling right now, Denny. Getting some love.
I just, it's unbelievable that we were able to get this done in my home state. This is my biggest win. Cup, anything. It didn't matter. This is my biggest win by far, and it just means a lot to finally break through in Richmond.
Now, you pulled into victory lane. Dave Rogers, your crew chief, leaned in and he said something to you. What'd he say?
He just said we didn't have the best car, but we'll take it, and it means as much to him as it does me, and I think he knows how much it means to me, and Just an unbelievable day for this whole 20 team. Thanks for all their support. They're the ones who put me in this car 2 or 3 years ago, and they got me to the level I'm at now. So thanks to Z-Line, Toyota, Joe Gibbs Racing, and everyone involved.
Well, Denny, you go enjoy your victory. Over to Jamie.
Well, Shannon, what a run it was for Kyle Busch, coming all the way from the back to the front, and excitement at the end. Always with you, Kyle, at the end. It's so exciting. But take us through the final lap and what happened with you and Stephen Wallace.
Well, I mean, we had a struggling night all night. You know, we had to battle there at the end of the race. And Stephen, I guess, got a better run off of turn 2, and instead of, turning low to pass me, he just hit me in the back end there and drove into turn 3, and he knew I was going to hit him, so he moved up the racetrack out of my way, and we got through there luckily, and we were able to come home third or whatever we were. I don't even know. But, when you bump somebody on the straightaway, if you want to play boys' games like that, then it's every man for himself. And I don't care. I'll wreck as many cars as I need to. So, to me, I'm not going for points. If he's going for points, it's going to hurt him a lot worse than it's going to hurt me.
You jumped out of your car and you went back and had words with him. What did you say?
I basically told him that you mess with the bull, you're going to get the horns, and then he wanted to grab my helmet, which is, pretty childish again. But, we'll see what happens here in the future, and if he wants to play those games, he's going to get hurt.
All right, Kyle Busch, birthday boy tonight, turned 23. Let's go over and get the other side of what happened. Mike Massaro.
And Stephen Wallace has just climbed from his car. What is your take on what transpired in that last lap between you and Kyle?
That's just Richmond, man. Here on a 3/4 mile racetrack, you're racing as hard as you can. It's just a green-white checkered. I mean, what can you do? But besides that, our I think Chevrolet, 8 years homes, Monte Carlo, ran really good. I got to thank John Bean and Susan Bean. We finally pulled this top 5 off for him, and it was just a good run for us. We worked real hard over the off season, and we've had a lot of fast race cars just having anything to show. Ran 10th in Mexico and 5th here, so we're finally building some momentum that we can carry there at Darlington. So just got to thank everybody at H-Rish, RWI, and I think Harold Holly and all those guys just changed my life and my whole race team around.
He leaned in the window after you guys came down pit road. What did he say to you?
I don't know what he was saying, but if I jerked him by the helmet and just rattled his cage a little bit to know him, just to tell him that I wasn't happy with it. He's just a little girl about it. I don't know. I just think it's pretty bad, when they call drivers introductions, everybody in the grandstands boos us. It's always for a reason. It's sore loser. But anyway, good day for H-Rish Homes and John Bean. Thank you.
Well, Dave, short tracks, short tempers.
Down here, Mike, watching the sparring match with Kevin Harvick, getting a good view of that. To your race, 98 laps led, and then the unfortunate position of having to choose whether to pit or not. Talk us through that.
Well, I'm just proud of everybody on this Ream Chevrolet. Wally says, come on in and pit, and I saw Carl stay out, and I figured, what the heck, I'm going to stay out here and take my chances in the clean air, and then 20 just got through traffic there. We didn't need that next last caution, but just really proud of the pit crew guys. All those guys have been working hard, and what a turnaround from the first week on pit road. And those guys got us the lead tonight, and we were able to make our car better and lost as a team tonight. And we did everything right and just wound up a little bit short, but we went down racing, and that's all you can ask for. And we keep running like that, good things will keep coming our way.
Kevin, we've talked about struggling on pit road before, and we saw your team pull off the good pit stops earlier tonight. When the decision came down to it, there was no decision that was based on whether or not you could get on pit road. It was just all about what the other guys would be doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, there was 15 laps to go and all about track position. And I knew the tires were good for 6 or 7 laps. And after that, I thought our car was good enough to maintain. And, with the double wide file start there, I thought, maybe we'll get enough time here. And I really thought more would stay out than did. So when only 4 of them stayed out, I knew we might be in a little trouble, but it's one of those deals.
All right, second place tonight for Kevin Harvick, and no controversy. Jamie?
And David Reagan, what a great night it was for him, finishing in the top 5 again. David, talk about that last lap. You and Carl Edwards, you're just picking them off one at a time. Had we had another couple laps, do you think you could have gotten up there?
Well, certainly we had a car that was capable of winning the race, just depending on track position and how many green flag laps we had there at the end, restarting 8th on that final restart. Probably didn't help us out that much, but nevertheless, a solid day for us. We've just got to work on some particulars so we can get up, try to win one of these things.
It was a great night for you guys, tying their best finish of the year, 4th. Marty?
And as we take a look at the points, the 5th straight win for Joe Gibbs Racing. This team is on a roll no matter who's driving the car. Take a look. It's 9 back from Clint Boyer to Carl Edwards. Kyle Busch is 12. Closing comments.
Well, we just had a little bit of everything. Pit strategy and tires, a little tempers, and little contact. This is short track racing Friday night.
Good old short track racing. At the very end, give me 4 tires, baby. That's what I want.
and you got it for the win. As it was a great night, as a dream is fulfilled. And Alan, let's put a period on this. Take us home.
Well, there's the period right there. Home, the key word, Brad. Denny Hamlin wins at Richmond.
I told you, man, you love that home cooking. Oh, Denny stepped up, did a great job. Congratulations to him. David Reagan finishes 4th, Stephen Wallace 5th, and David Strimmy 6th. Great runs for all those guys.
Doesn't matter how many people ask you for tickets, it's still better to be at home.
It's
That's what you
always
said
good to be at the house, baby. Got to protect the house.
There you go. And what a nice win tonight for Denny Hamlin. And boy, that Joe Gibbs Racing team, what a roll they are on. And they get to continue it next week, or try to anyway, where Denny Hamlin is the defending champion of the NASCAR Nationwide Series race at Darlington. Our coverage next week, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday night, ESPN2, presented by the Coleman Company. Newly repaved Darlington Raceway, going to be faster than ever. Oh, my goodness.
The lady in black, baby, here we come.
Next Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. This has been a presentation of ESPN2, the worldwide leader in sports. Denny Hamlin, the hometown winner for Joe Gibbs Racing tonight. Next week, it's on to Darlington. The encore presentation continues on ESPN2. Thanks for watching tonight. What a night here at Richmond. The Blue Angels got the night started. We saw the sparks fly. The lights went down. The action on pit road told the story of the tale. And in the end, fresh tires on a late caution made Denny Hamlin look like Superman. Around the outside from 3rd to 1st. Denny Hamlin is your race winner tonight here in Richmond, Virginia. Thanks for watching the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Denny Hamlin gone to victory lane tonight.